Be well, get well, and stay well. Welcome to Wednesday Wellness. We are continuing our series on healthy, happy holidays, stress, and the brain. Tonight, Dr. Brett Brimhall discusses epigenetics and the power of the Nrf2 pathway.
All right, all y'all. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm Dr. Brett Brimhall here in the Phoenix area. We're a part of a group that we do these most Wednesdays to just really try to educate each other and help each other out to know what we can do to better help our own family, friends, and loved ones to get well, stay well, and be well. So tonight we're kind of continuing this process we've been doing over the last few weeks, really focused on brain health. And it kind of happened because I was at a seminar and they were focused on studying brain health and the effects of what we do now that it relates to Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism, all these big neurological conditions. And the most feared condition out there really, I used to think it was cancer, but it's actually Alzheimer's, that you would basically lose your mind before you pass. And so I got really fired up with some of the stuff that I was learning. And so we're going to share some of that tonight and give you a couple of specific things that you can start doing that will make a big impact. But I want to kind of paint a picture for you on that. So I want to thank you all for being here. I always thank Eileen. She's always one that kind of keeps us straight and rolling. And I want to kind of paint a little bit of a picture for you. So because here's some of the, when you go see a physician of any kind, you get their opinion based upon their experience, right? We know that. We all have our own slanted experience of the world based upon our past experiences. My experience is very slanted. I grew up in a home where I thought you didn't eat sugar, thought that was normal. I thought that, you went to the chiropractor first, that was normal, right? That's what I grew up with. My dad, we used to call him the sugar Nazi because he just, it was not allowed in the house. Didn't really know what a lollipop was, right? You can believe that. And so my professional training is a chiropractor, nutritionist, acupuncture, psychology, right? Neurology, gut health. So it's this wide range of perspective on how I see somebody. So when I see them come in, I'm seeing them, hopefully as a whole person. So I want to paint a picture for you when it comes to why I'm so passionate about this. I got involved with LifeVantage 6 years ago because I was taking care of a little boy who was struggling socially. He was struggling in school. He was 3 years old and still in diapers. So struggling in a lot of different ways. And a clinician I had trained actually invited them. So I said, you need to go see Dr. Brimhall. I think he can kind of help your son. And this mom was already super proactive in everything that she was doing. This little boy is gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, sugar-free, what I call fun-free, right? And at that time, I was teaching for a company that my dad was formulating nutrition for. My dad's formulated over 200 different vitamins and minerals, right? So my background is, understanding how those are created and teaching the physician about how we utilize them. So one of the individuals at that time that was on the same board of him was Dr. Perlmutter, who's a neurologist. And so I'm going to start tonight by showing you guys a video that he did. I'm going to show you a clip of it because it's going to relate very heavily on the conversation we're going to have. And I'm going to show you a couple of studies specifically and how it's going to affect you now and later, right? It should depend on when you want to start doing something about it. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you guys will give me a thumbs up if it all plays out well. That's what I want. All right. So you guys see that? Looks like a video. Give me a thumbs up. All right, here we go. So we're going to play the first few minutes. It's super important. So Dr. Perlmutter, classically trained neurologist, and his background is very fascinating. He wrote a book called Grain Brain that talks about how foods can affect brain. And he also, his background and his drive and passion in this really relates back to his family and his own father that struggled with dementia. So it's very personal for him. Brain health is not only him professionally, but personally. So this is his perspective on brain and things we need to pay attention to. So let's watch this real quick. Just I'm watch about 3 minutes of it.
So I've presented several videos indicating that lifestyle factors are obviously very important in determining whether your brain is going to be healthy or that you are going to be at risk for a degenerative condition of your brain, things like Alzheimer's disease, for example. And it turns out that the reason that the high carbohydrate diet, the lack of physical exercise, gluten and other things that lead to inflammation are so important is because they tend to increase, as mentioned, inflammation. And the process of inflammation is tied in intimately with increasing what are called free radicals. So these are the two pillars, inflammation and the action of free radicals, that ultimately damage brain cells and actually lead to death of brain cells. Let's take a look. On this schematic, I've called your attention to the fact that inflammation increases free radicals, and ultimately that leads to the death of brain cells. And therefore, you might think, well, then I need to do everything I can to reduce this activity. And today, what I'd like to talk to you about is a notion of something called epigenetics. Now, epigenetics is a very empowering concept. Epigenetics means that our lifestyle choices can actually influence things like reducing inflammation, reducing the action of free radicals. We can change the expression of our DNA. Now, that's a very heady concept back when I was in medical school. I don't want to let you know how long ago that was, but it was quite a long time ago. We'll leave it at that. But we were told pretty much that our DNA was locked in a glass case and determined everything about us. We now understand that our lifestyle choices, the foods that we eat, the sleep that we get or we don't get, the type of nutrients that we may choose to take, change the expression of our DNA and can pave the way for health or disease. Let's take a look at this next slide. So now we understand that we can actually harvest this notion of epigenetics to reduce inflammation and increase antioxidant protection. Those, again, are the two leverage points that we want to look at in terms of protecting the brain. Now, one very important epigenetic factor to consider is there is a pathway called Nrf2. If we activate this gene pathway called Nrf2, it reduces inflammation and it improves antioxidant function. And on these next images, you'll see that many things that we can choose to do will turn on the Nrf2 pathway. This will increase the body's production of antioxidants, decrease inflammation, and in addition, an added benefit, it will increase the body's ability to detoxify. So getting aerobic exercise, reducing our caloric consumption, using the herb like turmeric.
So anyway, I don't want to go through all of that, but you guys can find this slide stuff. But he kind of goes through this pathway known as Nrf2 activation. I want to speak a little bit about that. So when I was introduced to the product Protandim specifically, I wasn't a stranger to Nrf2 activation, because my first exposure with Nrf2 activation was with this individual. You'll see this was made in November of 2014. So I actually had actually been using the product called Nrf2 Activator from a company that I was teaching with, because Dr. Perlmutter had made that. All right. And so as you hear, the neurologist talking about the importance of activating our own body's genes. Which I love about this is to realize that it's not hardwired in us, right? We can do things about it. So we can either just pretend like it's not there, or we can understand, hey, if we do these things over here, we have the potential to improve how we feel and function today and protect for tomorrow. So I'm going to see if I can change. Right. So this is another good one there, but let me see if this will let me do it. So I thought this was a fascinating study. They were looking specifically, can you guys see that? You see a study from PubMed? All right. So just the title, Stress-Induced Perinatal and Transgenerational Epigenetic Programming of Brain Development and Mental Health. So bottom line is, does stress in utero matter? That's doesn't matter. All right. Super interesting conversation here. And they're just really looking at that. How does the stress that somebody has when they're pregnant, and does it have an effect upon the baby? So I thought it was pretty fascinating here. And I'm just going to summarize it. They're saying we highlight the complex interplay between stress, perinatal stress, right, and changes in the expression of DNA, all right, which is basically the genetic material, and brain, and possible links to greater risk of schizophrenia, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism, anxiety, or depression related disorders later in life. So this is bigger than just dementia, right? The understanding of how stress affects us, not only psychological stressors, but the chemical stressors. And we have a couple ways to influence that. All right. So I'm going to talk about one when it comes to the stress side, because I think it's super important for this. So most people kind of get stressed out during the holidays. All right. So I'm going to teach you a really simple technique that I like to do. So two simple things. When you're stressed, you typically get tight and you don't breathe well, right? That's pretty common. So one of the simplest ways to reduce the effect of how your stress is when you're laying down at night, or if you want to just take a break, all you got to put your hand on your belly button for a minute and just focus on breathing to where you feel your tummy come in and out. So just do that. Just put your hand on your belly button and just focus on feeling your stomach come in and out. Close your eyes even. I won't take a screenshot, I promise. Maybe. And what you'll notice as you go through a few of the sites where you're really focused on feeling your stomach going in and out, you'll feel a kind of relaxation response. So when you're relaxed, you're in a state of ease. When you're stressed, you're in a state of dis-ease or dysfunction. You stay in a state of dis-ease or dysfunction long enough, you can develop things you don't want. The reason why medicine struggled with seeing things or helping some people is we're looking for disease versus looking at dysfunction and where people are on that continuum. So that's one thing you can automatically do. Just spend a minute to focus on that breathing. The second thing is this. I want you to real quick, close your eyes. Think about something stressful like, oh my gosh, I have like a week and Christmas is here. And I really don't want to go out shopping. I got to deal with COVID. I don't even want to buy presents for some of those people. Like they're just grouchy and they don't appreciate it. Or I have to deal with family I don't even want to be with. Or maybe I'm really sad because I don't get to go see my loved ones this year because of what's going on. Notice where you tighten up. Just be aware of that. And then I want you to just put your hand on your forehead. And I want you to just hold it there for about 15 to 30 seconds. And I want you to just notice for a second, as you're holding that thought, what you feel your body's response is. Now, what probably you're feeling is you're going to feel a relaxation response. Different points on our body relax us. It just so happens when you touch your forehead, it causes a relaxation response to your nervous system. So you can take a stressful response, be aware of it, put your hand on your forehead, and it's going to train your body to calm down. Real simple technique. I use it a lot with teaching people when they're dealing with test anxiety, but you can do this anytime. Driving the car, even just don't close your eyes when you're driving the car. Okay. All right. So I want to come back and I want to end with two things, but I want to show you one other study before I do that. So they're talking about antioxidants. So you have the bad guys, the free radicals, the bullies, and you have antioxidants, which are the good guys that help clean up the bad guys. All right. So I give you two techniques already you can do to kind of reduce your stress level, which is huge. So even if you're not in utero, okay, if you are pregnant, right, it's important to find stress management tools and techniques and support your systems. All right. If you're not in utero, well, you need to do it even more so too for yourself. Okay. All right. I found this study. I thought it was kind of interesting. And it was talking about how quercetin, which is a certain antioxidant, had an effect upon oxidative stress. And so I want to read this. It's kind of interesting. So quercetin is known as an antioxidant. All right. So, which is something that helps clean up the bad guys. All right, where did that here? And they're talking about sleep deprivation, right? But the results suggested that quercetin exerts an anti-manic-like effect at a dose that do not impair spontaneous locomotion activity, and the antioxidant action of quercetin might contribute to anti-manic-like behavior. So if you think of like an OCD or manic person, like they're saying, hey, look, we can use like an antioxidant to affect somebody's highs and lows. And there's multiple studies looking at quercetin specifically, and how it has anti-anxiety or antidepressive effects. Super, super cool, right? So taking good antioxidants is important, all right? It's because you need those things in your system, but it's also really, really important to activate that pathway like Dr. Perlmutter is talking about. And if you remember what he said before, he mentioned a few things here, all right? He mentioned things like caloric restriction, which is fasting, not eating too much, curcumin, resveratrol, broccoli, green tea extract, garlic, DHA are all what they call Nrf2 activators. So here's where I want to end the story, right? I remember hearing about Dr. Perlmutter talking about Nrf2 activation, and that product, I started using it, right? Because of what this pathway influences. And I think, well, cool. If I can get the body to activate, I really want to do that, right? So what ended up happening is, as I started delving into this, I was working with that little boy, and this little boy started a product that was designed to address brain fatigue. Actually, quercetin is one of the nutrients in that drink. And I saw this little boy all of a sudden unfold in front of my eyes. And I realized at the time that there was something different about the company and how they were making stuff. And because I had been using Nrf2 activator before, and I just wasn't seeing the result that I thought I should see. Well, I didn't really know any different. But the same company that made that drink also made this other product that was Nrf2 activator called Protandim, and I actually started using that on patients. And then I went back and I started reading Dr. Perlmutter's book. In Dr. Perlmutter's book, the Grain Brain, he talks about Nrf2 activator, and he lists 7 ingredients in that particular product. And 5 of those 7 ingredients were in that product Protandim. And then I started to understand why I was seeing different effects in people's lives, because it does matter. Not only does it matter the quality of the ingredients, but the combination of the ingredients, right? Super, super important that if you're not getting results with what you're looking at, I want you to look at differently. So I'm gonna give you a couple of specific things you can do today if you're not feeling, if you feel like your brain's not functioning as well as you want today. One of them, start paying attention to how you stress. Pay attention to who you're hanging out with. Pay attention to those things that actually cause stress in your life, and say, what control do I have over those things? Right? And if you don't have control, like, find a way to reduce that. Use those techniques, the breathing and this forehead techniques, I call it positive point, to help calm your stress response down. All right. And then as part of your biohacking strategy, find the products for you that you want to apply based upon the budget that you want to apply to your health. For me, I want to use the best quality of product that has the best results, both clinically and in the science. And I'm grateful to be a part of this group, because this is what we want to do. Our goal is to help people find solutions to problems they're having and problems they don't want to have. So hopefully I give you a little insight of why I'm so passionate about this. And it's funny, I got all these books here. I was going to show you guys. Check this out. High Performance Habits. That's on psychology stuff, brain and body. This is Limitless, which is all about brain function, brain performance, and Alzheimer's. All of them talk about different things that relates to nutrition and how it affects the brain, whether it's a psychology book, a brain performance book, or an actual book on Alzheimer's. Epigenetics is something we need to pay attention to. What we do from a lifestyle perspective, and the things we put in our body, and the things we allow to come into our minds. So appreciate you being here next week. Next Wednesday, we'll go ahead and do this again. It'll be a little bit more focused in on brain health again. And I'm going to focus a lot more on the stress side of things, because of how it affects you, but also some more tools that you can use to help change that. So
thanks for joining us for Wellness Wednesday at CEO Luv2Live. Remember to hit that subscribe, the like, and the bell, and be well, get well, and stay well.